Hello, my name is Jason Johnson, amateur radio operator Kilo 3 Juliet Sierra Juliet, and welcome to the next installment of our video on off-grid communications with Winlink. In part 1, I provided an overview of Winlink, and in part 2, I'm going to go into more details of the Winlink program. We'll go through some background technical information, terms of use, and we'll also send some messages. So let's go ahead and get started. So in this section of the video, what we'll do is go over Winlink's terms of use. And so these are factors you need to be aware of when using the program. I'll give you a high-level network overview and the different modes you can use Winlink. I'll cover an example of RF coverage in the local region here in the Bowie region. And then finally, I'll send an example email message to demonstrate how you can use the Winlink program and how quickly it goes across the network. So before I get started with the technical overview, let's talk about the terms of use. As an amateur radio operator, we are prohibited from using the frequencies in our privileges to engage in commercial applications and in selling and buying for profit. So when using Winlink, you need to realize you can't be using this for profit. Another important point is we are prohibited from using encryption. So none of the messages you send on the Winlink network should have secret meaning or be encrypted in any manner. Finally, because the information we send across the airwaves is publicly available, you should not be sending information that is confidential or related to HIPAA. Winlink is frequently used by local Aries groups to send information, to relay information and messages for maybe agencies that we're supporting. But when doing these communications, it's important not to include any information about individuals, especially their personal health information. Some additional things that you need to realize about the terms of use of Winlink as a service is you should not use the service to send spam email messages. This would be advertisements of any kind, as well as using this to send viruses or any kind of unauthorized media or copyright material for that matter. Also, you should not be using Winlink as a service to bully or harass other people. This is something that there is a way to check the messages, which I'll talk about in a bit, but do not use Winlink to harass or grieve or bother other people. And finally, Winlink should not be used for any appropriate content. And I would just leave it to the listener to kind of figure out what that would be. But we should be using high standards in amateur radio and not sending out inappropriate content. Some additional things to keep in mind for the service. Given that we are using publicly accessible radio frequencies, none of the messages that we send have an expectation of privacy. I've already talked about we cannot encrypt our messages or make them have secret meaning. I would encourage you to review the Winlink privacy policy, which is on the website for Winlink. The other important thing to realize is messages that you send on the network, either through email messages from the internet to other users or users from your computer over RF links, are retained on the Winlink servers for 21 days. This is done to provide a mechanism to allow self-policing of the bands to make sure we're not using, making sure we're not using, or other operators are not using the service that goes against the terms of use. If you go to the website, there's a US Amateur Radio Message Viewer that you have to log in with your Winlink account. Once you log in, you can pull up messages for the past 21 days. Keep in mind, you should be using this just to self-police and check your own messages. It is a nice feature that you can use to troubleshoot if you're running into problems with the network. Once the 21-day period is over, the messages are permanently removed from the Winlink servers. All right, there's 3 modes of using Winlink to send messages. I'll just briefly cover these and we'll go into more detail. The first example of sending messages is peer-to-peer. And essentially, this is what it sounds like, a message from one operator to another in direct mode. The second way to use WinLink is conventional, and this is generally the way that most users operate on the network. WinLink involves a tiered network, which we'll go through in a bit. And the typical path would be a radio message from your radio to a message server to the internet, and then servers on the internet can be used to route messages to other message servers or other users on the internet itself. Finally, the third mode of WinLink is radio-only mode. This is a very robust mode that operates without the internet whatsoever. Messages are delivered to pickup stations. So as you configure your WinLink client, you would pick a station in your area that you have good connectivity into. That could be a 2-meter coverage, for example, or maybe HF 180 meters or 40 meters. You pick up to 3 message delivery stations where you're going to have other people send messages to you. And then frequently, maybe every couple of days, you would connect to your message pickup station to download your message. The important thing about the radio only is the connectivity between the different nodes is across radio links. There is no internet connectivity, so messages are relayed across the radio to other places. The conventional mode, messages typically are available within a minute or two for delivery, versus radio only, since there are networks that have to be established over radio links and they're not always up. It can take several hours to a day for the messages to be delivered to the radio pickup point. So here's a diagram of a conventional peer-to-peer connection. And in this diagram, we have 2 stations. We have 2 computers running the WinLink server, the WinLink software. And each of these computers has a sound card device to connect their computer to their radio. There's a radio link between the stations, and you can send a direct message peer-to-peer to the other recipient. In this diagram, we have an example of the conventional network, where on the bottom of the screen you have the computer as before, but now we've added some additional nodes in the infrastructure. The important thing is we connect from our station over the amateur bands to these things called remote message servers. And these are servers that can act as both holding places for messages that we want to queue up, but they also, with an internet connection, can route it to the WinLink common message servers. And think of these as servers that can route messages between different RMS locations to other operators around the country. Finally, on the diagram, I'll point out that there is one computer connecting on the bottom right to the internet and to the common message servers via Telnet. So if you do have a home with internet and you just want to download your messages over your conventional internet connection, you can do that. You can also use your radio to connect from your station into a remote message server, which will then connect over the internet to the common message server to download your email messages. And finally, this is the radio-only network configuration. You'll notice in this diagram we have stations as before on the bottom tier. These would be operators with an RF link to a message relay station and the message relay station. And you'll notice between message relay stations, the messages are passed or relayed over HF. So in this example, they're using the Pactor network to pass messages. So maybe I have one operator that's going to send me a message. His message pickup station is this one on the right side of the screen, and then the message is routed to me over to my RMS station over the HF network. And then tomorrow I'll connect into that RMF pickup point and I can download the message from that operator that was sent to me. Keep in mind that with this network, it is totally robust and off-grid because there is no internet connectivity in this case, which means that if there is an internet outage, whether that be on a cellular network or the internet itself, the messages between operators can continue to function. All right, next I'm going to cover the packet radio coverage here in the Bowie area that I frequently use. And if you live in the area, you could also use this as well. The information for this was obtained from the Winlink website. They have a map that you can select and display what operating stations are in your area. So let's take a look at the packet stations. So here is a Google Earth view, a Google Maps view I should say, and in the green bubbles are stations that are operating packet in the area. So you'll notice here about in the middle of the map is the buoy, and then also to the northwest would be Laurel Burtonsville area. To the southeast would be the Davisonville area, and then finally northeast would be Pasadena. So here in the first one I'll highlight is the station W3ACC-11. That's the call sign from a station operating packet on 145.010. This is available 24 hours a day, running packet 1200 baud. The next station, which is one I frequently connect to, is the N3XL station, N3XL-10, operating on 145.090. And this is Bill Smith's station. He runs packet at 1200 baud as well. Going up the map, the next station is K3BWA-10. It's on 145.750 megahertz. That's a 24-hour station. Finally, here's a station from the Laurel, a radio club in Laurel, W3LRC-10. It's also operating on the same frequency as the station previously, 145.750. And finally, I'll highlight the station up in the Burtonsville area, WA3YOO-9. It's also operating on 145.750. Now consider, for example, I'm here located close to Bill Station and Bowie. I'm around in this area. And say, for example, I want to route a message from my station A all the way up to the northwestern part of this map, which is an operator of Burtonsville. That's quite a ways away, and my radio is only about 25 watts, so I cannot directly reach that station from my home. However, since these stations in yellow that I've highlighted are operating on 145.70 megahertz, it's possible for me to reach that distant station by relaying through the station in Laurel. So that's not an issue. I can use this function called digipeating to route the message between my station through the Laurel station to the destination in Burtonsville. So packet is one of the types of modem types that you can use to send Winlink messages. There's also another modem, which is a newer modem which has higher throughput, called Vera. And in the region here, there's a couple Vera stations that are online 24 hours a day. And I've highlighted these. These you've seen before. N3XL-10 on 145.09 megahertz, W3ACC-11 on 145.010, and finally WA3YOO-9 on 145.750. So, now that we've gotten over the terms of use and seen the three types of networks that we can have for Winlink, the peer-to-peer, conventional, and radio only, let's send an email message. So on the screen, you'll see the Winlink Express client. This is the program that looks similar to Outlook that you'd use to send email messages, or maybe your webmail application. A couple of things to highlight here. The first, which is appearing in green, is your message pane. This lists all the messages that are in your inbox that are ready to view. And you'll notice a variety of different columns: date and time, message ID, size, the source of the message, who sent it, the recipient of the message, which can be yourself or more than one person, and the subject. Also in the Winlink client, in yellow, is a list of folders. This is where you can move messages for safekeeping and to make it more organized on your inbox. There's system folders, which are used for the in and out messages, sent items. And you'll see on mine, I don't have any messages in the outbox ready to send. And I've sent 640 messages. Below the system folders are my personal folders, which I can use to file my own messages And you can pick whatever convention you want to file those. And finally, in the red portion down below is the message pane itself. And this is where you would view the message and see what the information says. So that would be the content of the message. So I want to send a message. What I would do is I would click the message option on the screen. And what happens is a new window pops up. And it asks me to start a new message. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the message. I'm going to send this message to my ARRL.net email account because there's a Winlink Wednesday net that's going to be operating in 2 days. So I'm sending myself an email message to remind myself to check into this net this coming Wednesday. So I just, as any email client, you have a to-line, which is where you want to send the message to. You fill out the subject, and then you also fill out the body of the message on where you want to send it. Now I'm going to pick to send this as a Winlink message. This is a typical one, the conventional message. I also have an option to send pen to peer-to-peer or radio only, but I won't be demonstrating that in this video. Now that I'm satisfied with the content of the message, I just click the Post Outbox button. And then you'll notice I'm back at the Winlink client application screen. And one thing to highlight is now the outbox has one message that's queued up to send. So I'm ready to send the message. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open the session. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I have a video queued up that will show how the message gets sent over the network. So let me go ahead and adjust my microphone, and you can watch the video. All right, I have the Winlink client application loaded, and there's a packet session that I'm going to go ahead and start up. And we're going to connect to a local station here close to my house in Bowie. And I'll just type the name of that station, N3XL-10, in the name of this, the first field. And I'm actually going to do a direct connection to that station. I'm not going to digit beat. So on the screen in front of you, this is the window that shows the packet session that I'm going to connect to. So I'm going to connect to the N3XL station. I have my radio configured to use the frequency, which is 145.09 megahertz. And then on the top right portion of the screen above my photo, you can actually see the modem, the software-based modem, which when I go ahead and start the session, you'll see some things scrolling in that portion of the window. You should also hear the modem starting up. Right now I have squelch on, so you don't hear the audio. But once my station connects to N3XL, you'll start seeing information at the top right of the screen, as well as hearing the back and forth of the modem connecting to send the message that I've queued up. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have one message that's on the gateway that's trying to send to me that I'm going to potentially download. I'm actually going to skip this for now. I'm going to hold the message. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and download it. You can see both of the sending the message, which just went through, and you'll notice that one message was sent at 264 bytes. It only took 4 seconds to send that message, and now I'm downloading the message, and the size of that message is 3,662 bytes, and it's going across the packet network. You'll notice the waterfall display showing the packet connection. it's almost finished. Okay, so that's an example of both sending a message and receiving a message over a packet connection using Winlink. And once you're finished, it actually gives you information about the session, and you can go up the top. So we started here. We see we connected to the N3XL-10 station. It has a date and time. It has a location of that station here in Bowie. This is standard Winlink information. It tells what station I'm connected to and my call sign. And then after I've connected, it will list all the messages that are queued up for me to retrieve. Before I download the messages, I had a message in my outbox to send. This was the reminder email message. And it transmitted that message. There was one message outgoing, 264 bytes, 4 seconds. And then the bottom portion covers the message that I downloaded. So the throughput was, around 5,000 bytes per minute, which is a very good connection. So that is it. I'll go ahead and stop the video here. All right. All right. So in that video, we saw an example of sending a message over the packet network to the internet. And what you see in front of you now is my Yahoo inbox, and you'll see the message from K3JSJ at winlink.org. That was the message that went through. It was sent to my account with the ARRL, which is delivered to my Yahoo account. And you'll see the message right here. So pretty quickly it goes across the network for the conventional Winlink. And also if I would reply to this message, it would be routed to my Winlink account. One thing to keep in mind with the Winlink messages is that there is a mail filtering feature that you have to add individuals to a allow list to let them send you a message to your Winlink account. If you send an outbound message to them, that will automatically allow them to send you a message back. But they do not allow unsolicited messages to come into the network. So that's something you can read more about on the Winlink webpage, but I thought I'd mention it before I proceed to the next slide. Okay, so in this video, I've gone over the terms of use for Winlink and things that you need to consider. This involved the content that's prohibited on the network, as well as realizing that messages are stored on the network for up to 21 days for self-policing. I then went over a little bit earlier the Winlink network itself. So we talked about the peer-to-peer mode of Winlink. We talked about the conventional as well as radio only. I went through an example of packet coverage as well as Vera coverage here in the Bowie area. And these are nodes that you can connect to over 2 meter coverage. One thing I did not cover in this particular video is you can also connect to the Winlink network over HF. 80 meters is a very good frequency band to use for local communications. But you can also connect to radio message servers on 20 meters or 40 meters, which could be maybe in other areas of the country. And finally, I went over some examples of an example email message that I sent across the network. So this concludes part 2 of the Winlink off-grid communications series. I thank you for watching the video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at my address, k3jsj@arrl.net. And please continue to follow the our YouTube channel to look for future videos. Thank you for watching, and 73.